Okay, let's see if I can do this correctly. So I have my blanks here. These two are already Mod Podged and then glittered, however many layers you want to do. And then I just put one more layer of Mod Podge over the top just to keep it down so that way you don't have any loose glitter. This is my black. With the black, it's just recollections from Michael's. I don't know if any of this is going to show up. I mixed the silver with it, as well as the glitz. And this is how sparkly it is. I'll show you the back side. Got a nice color to it. Same with this one. These ones are actually pretty rough. These are not something I would put out or sell normally. They're really rough around the edges. I was trying to hurry up and do these. This one has a lot of glitter on the edge. I don't normally do that. I'll go through and I'll wipe the edges. This one, however, the Pitbull, is a little different. He is with just cardstock. Some layer Mod Podge cardstock, and then a layer or two again of Mod Podge over that. This one is cool though because the cardstock was double-sided. This one didn't turn out all the best on the other side. Too many streaks, but again, it's for my personal keychain, so not a big deal. After this is all dried and set, you'll take your epoxy. Now my epoxy I put into squeeze tubes because I was making a mess trying to pour them out of the bottle. There is probably an easier way to do this, but this is just what I ended up doing. You want to make sure however much you're going to make that it's equal parts of A and equal parts of B. This is just how I had them labeled. I already have, I'll stop at that point. Usually, I don't know if you can see this or not, it'll come with the medicine dispenser. I know people use syringes, people use other methods. You can buy bigger ones. I used my last big one to mix my black glitter. So I am just using some snack things, I don't know what they are, to measure them out. I'm only going to do this one for the for my Pitbull because it's just easier to see and you'll probably be able to see bubbles easier. I already have this one of A pre-portioned out. I don't know if you can see that or not. I just have it filled up just to that little lip right there. And then I'll go ahead and fill B the rest of the way up. You can tell the difference between A and B. B is usually a lot runnier than A. So the two tools that I'll end up using is my stir stick, which is just a wooden toothpick. You can use the wooden toothpick, you can use an old thin paintbrush, you can use toothpicks, whatever. And then the other one I'll be using is just a silicone brush. I don't know if you'll be able to see that or not, or if it'll come in focus, probably not. It's just a silicone tipped brush, and this is going to help pull the acrylic, or not the acrylic, the epoxy to the edge of where I want it to be. So I am going to, I'll just mix these in here. So I usually put B into A. I don't remember if it matters or not. B is just runnier than A, so it's easier to do that. Make sure you scrape the sides and the bottom of it. Sorry if my hands are in the way. So with this, when you go to stir, I don't know if you can see that or not, you'll get some striping. You'll stir until this is all mixed and it runs clear again. I don't know if you can see that or not. Oh, can we get it towards the light? You can stir as fast or as slow. I know that the slower you stir, the less bubbles you get, but I'm going to be using my heat gun to pop the bubbles, so it won't really matter how fast or how slow I stir it, because they'll go away anyways. Just want to make sure you scrape the sides, scrape the bottom. No real right way or wrong way to stir it. And you can see I have a lot of bubbles in there. But again, well, it's not going to matter because they're all going to get popped. And hopefully I'll be able to show you that process. If you can see these over here, these are already ones that I epoxied this morning. And so they're just sitting to dry. You just want to make sure you get everything mixed really, really well. Okay. And then if you see this over here, I'll show you what I'm going to do with any leftover that I have left. So I'm just going to make sure that I don't have any extra. I did blue hearts because our pit bull is named Blue. So it's blue hearts for my little boy Blue. I am going to just put enough to do it right at the center, right up at the top here, and right over here. I'm not going to cover this entirely, because if you do, it will run over the edge. I'm going to let that sit for just a minute. I don't know if you can you see all those bubbles? Hopefully you can. But those will be gone shortly. Again, make sure it's on a level surface so that way I'll do this. It doesn't start just running all over the place. So for this one's a little bit bigger. I should have enough left over to, oops, just fill that. With the glitter, at least, not so much with this one. With the glitter, I like to do 2 layers on it. I'll do a nice even thin layer, let that set up, and then I'll go back through after it's all dry and set up after 24 to 48 hours, and I'll do another thin coat and then pull it out. I actually have enough. I'll be able to do the leaf. Again, this stuff moves pretty quickly if you're not careful with it. Just pull it back from the edge. Unfortunately, this stuff likes to flow if it's not nice and thick. And if that's the case, then it's obviously going to follow the path of least resistance, so it's going to keep running if it does that. Okay, so for the pit bull, I'm going to see, did it run here? Yeah, it ran here just ever so slightly. With this, I'm just going to pull all of this down. Avoiding the edges as best as I can for right now. Pulling it to make sure that I get enough down to the very bottom. And then up to the top. Ignore my dogs. They bark at anything and everything. Okay, so I'll leave him to sit for a minute. Oh, you see, I poured too much on this one, so this one's run. But it's okay, we'll be able to fix this one. This one's got such a big surface, it's a lot easier to move it with your stir stick. Again, just as close to the edge without going over the edge like I did on that one. I mean, just right up to the edge. I do recommend wearing gloves. I forgot to buy some, so I don't have them. Where the little hole is here on the Christmas ornament, I will go around it again, trying to avoid the edges. Let's see if I can salvage this one or not. Oops. Probably won't be able to since it's yeah, it's gonna keep flowing. Unfortunately, so we'll just leave that one there. Let's see if you can see this without me tipping it too much. Just right up to the edge, not over the edge. And then I'm going to pull this right up to the edge. The thicker this is, the better, because it's easier to work with without any chance of it flowing over, especially if you haven't over poured it. But it looks like I'm going over the edge with it. I promise I'm not. It'll just stay just right there at that very lip of it. Let's see if you can see that. Oh yeah, You can see right here where there's none. And again, because this is self-leveling, make sure it's on a level surface, otherwise it will not set properly. So let me see if I can get right up to this hole here without going over it. Here we go. So unlike this one, in the little corner of this one, a little bit goes a really long way. Unfortunately, that one I poured too much. And you don't need to have your tip on your actual artwork, or your blank, or whatever you've done. Just grazing the top of it will pull it enough. Just making sure I got all my spots covered. Hopefully you can see that. Okay. Those edges are good and covered. I will set that one aside. Pull this one over. Let's see if you can see that. Hopefully that's in focus. But with the glitter, because of my glitter edge, when you do this, it'll be easier to see. But I like to pull over the edge because it'll catch that glitter edge and kind of pull back up. This is usually my quiet concentration. Time to sit here and make sure I'm got all my little spots that I'm supposed to be catching. And I will sometimes go back through, because this takes a while for it to sit. I will usually go back through and do the edges 2 times, maybe 3 times. Sometimes you'll see it'll start to pull back. I wish I hadn't over poured that one, but at least you see what it looks like when you over pour. It just goes everywhere. Again, right up to that edge, not going over it. And if you see the video I posted in a comment about my don't be afraid to try epoxy, you'll see, especially when you get a lot of bubbles, they will pop themselves for the most part. Sometimes they won't, and you'll be left with little ones. Let me see if you can get that. Will you take that out? Let's see if we can get up close to those bubbles. Maybe not. Okay. Just a second here. So now that I have those all pulled to the edge, let's see if you can see some bubbles, just like my hand is in the way of the light right now. Oops. They are just ever so slight. I don't think that's gonna focus on that. Darn.
Maybe we'll lift it up to it.
No. So then I will take I wish I'll have to do a close-up of one. My heat gun. And again, this is after I've pulled everything that I wanted to the edge. Like I said, I'll do it sometimes 2 and 3 times depending, especially if it's a glitter edge.
What are you going to do with the leaf?
This over poured.
So what do you do?
It's not really anything you can do. I mean, you can wipe it up and try and clean it up, but it's just end up with a big old goopy mess. My husband's asking, what do we do if this over pours? What do you do to clean it up? I haven't found a good way. There might be one. If someone knows, definitely let us know. So the heat gun is just embossing tool. Nothing fancy. Hopefully you can hear me. You may or may not be able to see it, but just run it over real quick. It doesn't have to be anything super long period. Just enough to pop any bubbles. I wish you could see this. So the only thing in here is some debris that was left behind from me messing with it. Oh, I got a little bit of a run. Well, we'll see if this ends up being salvageable here in a couple days. But again, it's my personal one, so not too big of a deal. So yeah, all the debris that's left in here is just from it not being 100% clean surface. And I don't know if you can see the little dark spot here, and the little dark spot here is because I messed with the size accidentally, and so it's not 100% sealed right there, so he's got a little dark spot. Okay, so that guy will get set aside, but there's no bubbles in here whatsoever. It's just debris from it not being 100% clean. Now this, the only way you can really tell if there's bubbles in it or not is by getting up close to it. But that's about it. And then you just sit and wait. Really not that hard at all. Oh, I was going to show you. So this is just a mold that I bought. Nothing particular, nothing fancy. It's just a rose. So I still have some left in here. It won't be a very big rose, but I will just pour this in here. And you can, if I remember correctly doing this, you can add to this. So I don't have an entire amount to fill this towards the absolute top of this to make it completely a flat and smooth surface. So if I were to do the rest of my glittered keychains, I could add to this if there was any left over, and that so it's not an entire waste. So yeah, that's it. Super simple. You just have to be careful not to pour too much. Otherwise, it is a complete goner. Which, oh well, live and learn. So yeah, so let me see if I can get a good enough picture to show that there's no bubbles. No bubbles whatsoever in this little guy. And this is pulled all the way to the edge, not a little bit from the edge. This is pulled up to the edge of it, so it'll be a nice flat even surface, minus the little spot right there at the tail and at the crotch where he spilt over. So yeah, if you have any questions, let me know. Maybe I can work on doing one that's a little better than what this is. Hope that helps. Super simple.